Alright, let's go back to Christopher Columbus for a minute, our ancestor. February 1495. Columbus had captured 1,600 Taínos. Our relatives that are Taínos live in New York or from New York. Anyway, 550 were put on ships. 200 of them had died. And the 550 put on ships were for slavery. So in March of 1496, Columbus had stopped at the islands to look for food for the voyage back to Spain. Christopher Columbus's younger brother, Bartolome, collected 300 prisoners and sent them back with Pedro Alonso Nuno's fleet while they built the Santo Domingo on the south coast of Hispaniola. Columbus at the port of Cadiz saw 3 ships led by departing. In June 1496, he wrote him a letter authorizing him to sell the prisoners of war as slaves. So Bartolome Ngaragua, he was allowed to pay tribute in cotton, CASSAVA, and hemp, because the region didn't have any gold, so they started using slavery as payment along with these other commodities like cotton and all that stuff. Now, Philip II of Spain defaulted on his debt 4 times in 1557, 1560, 1575, and 1596, which made them the first nation in history to declare sovereign default due to rising military costs and the declining value of gold, as it become increasingly dependent on its revenues flowing in and from the empire from the Americas. So thus the system of stocks and bonds began, because gold had basically collapsed. Since the slaves were considered as chattel, CHATTEL, slaves, they were sold like cattle and other livestock. Slaves became the stock of the certificate of ownership and the bond, which is considered the instrument of indebtedness, which carried a value on the quality and area being sold. Example, Kentucky commanded a higher price, taking gold as a standard of value. Missouri priced slaves based on the age. Savannah Republic, which was Georgia at the time, priced females 18 years old. You would get like $2,500 for them. And like a man 45 years old went for $1,850. So that was a different value of the slaves. So the buying and the selling and the trading of these bonds became known as the stock exchange. So if you want to take it further into the future, like now, you have your birth certificate registration would be your bond. It has a seal and a signature on it. Then you have your social security number that identifies you so that you can work. So in order to get a social security card, you needed a birth certificate. So when the banking system came into play, which I will explain in another video, the United States wanted to deter people from cashing in deposits and depleting the gold supply. The United States and other governments had to keep interest rates high, but made it too expensive for people and businessmen to borrow. So in 1933, the country effectively abandoned the gold standard, and President Franklin D. Roosevelt cut the dollar ties with gold, allowing the government to pump money into the economy and lower interest rates. The U.S. continued to allow foreign governments to exchange dollars for gold until 1971. So when President Richard Nixon abruptly ended the practice to stop dollar flush foreigners from sapping the U.S. gold reserves. The U.S. now has like a flat money system, meaning the dollar's value is not linked to any specific asset.